Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week's Cedarville Stories Podcast. I'm Mark Weinstein, and in our society today, everyone wants to be known as a winner, whether it's in our profession, our academic pursuits, or in whatever we choose to do. Well, today on the podcast, I'm talking with three winners from Cedarville University's National Forensics Championship team. Joining me are Professor Eric Mishne, Assistant Professor of Communication and the Director of Forensics. He is joined by two members of his team, twins Zane and Cara Enos from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Zane is studying economics and Cara is pursuing a degree in psychology. Both are freshmen. So let's go to my conversation today with Professor Eric Mishne and Zane and Cara Enos on the Cedarville Stories Podcast. So it's great to have you guys in studio today.
And, thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. And before we get to the real heart of the podcast, so we need to have some education because when some people hear of forensics, they think maybe more like forensic science and you're going to do some scientific research. That's not what this is about. So Professor, what is forensics? As you know it to be.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Most people hear forensics and think about CSI, right, and crime scene investigation and things like that. And, you know, it is nothing like that. It is not science at all. There's some, maybe we talk about science and maybe there's a science to it.
There we go.
But
right.
Forensics in the world that we operate is public speech and debate competition. Okay. So competitive speech and debate. So I like to use the analogy of a track and field team where, you know, as individuals on the team specialize in different kinds of events. But instead of how fast can we run, how high can we jump, how far can we throw something, it's how well can I talk on different subjects, or how fast can I write a speech and give it in a professional way, or how good of a debater am I? And so there are really four different categories of events that we do. There's the debate category, which is at Cedarville, at least, the style of debate we do is one-on-one with a limited amount of time to prepare. Every round, every debate that you have at a tournament is a different topic against a different person. Okay. 30 minutes to prepare a debate.
Really?
And then you go for about a half an hour round. Then there's the public address or the platform speeches, which is essentially your traditional speech. It's a persuasive speech, an informative speech, something like that. The acting events that are like dramatic interpretation.
The best ones.
The fun ones, yeah.
They're all fun, but most of the time, those are the ones that people talk about having the most fun with. Yeah, because it's essentially acting. It's a 10-minute acting monologue or scene. Sometimes there's two people doing them. Sometimes it's just one person. And then the limited preparation events. So that's your impromptu speaking, your extemporaneous speaking. You get a quotation or you get a question about current events, and you have a short amount of time to prepare a 5 or 7 minute speech.
Okay. So you've touched on some of this. So let me bring this to a little finer point.
Sure.
What are the skill sets that make up a good forensics teammate or a performer, and what makes up a good forensic team?
Yeah. So those are definitely different questions.
Right.
What makes a good competitor as an individual really depends on what area of speech or debate they're focusing on. But across the board, you need to have critical thinking skills. You need to be able to look at an issue or a topic or a subject and not just be able to explain it to someone, because anybody can be taught to explain something, but the best competitors are looking at an issue, looking past the surface of what it is and understanding why it matters, and being able to talk about the more nuanced, surprising elements of a subject. So there's that critical thinking side that goes for the speech and the debate, being able to evaluate different sides of an issue, figure out arguments for it. Creativity is a huge piece of it. We definitely want speakers to be creative in how they talk about something. Because again, anybody can tell us facts. Not everybody can tell us a story or explain why those facts matter.
Like, it's a completely different deal when you get up and you relay an experience to someone, but when you can present that story with a level of connection and genuine care for your audience, not only do they understand it, but you communicate far better than you would before.
Yeah, it's a lot less of... A lot of times when it comes to speech and debate, people assume it's a presentation. You're always like this big, you're a character on stage. And there's an aspect to it that you're presenting, but oftentimes the best speakers are the ones who make it a conversation, where you don't even feel like it's someone who's performing for you, but it's someone who's just genuinely talking to you, who's sitting down and just telling you a story. And then they're weaving this tale that you're sitting down, and you just get to appreciate someone who is being able to weave together a conversation about a topic, where you bring in like a philosopher and a historical example, and then you can weave it in with a theory that you learn in one of your classes. And then you're like, that was a good speech. And it just kind of hits you as you're watching it. And preferably they have like a little bit of personality too, because if you're just watching a stale potato sitting up there and like, hey guys, I'm going to list you 3 facts and that's about it. No one cares. But if you're able to have a little bit of fun with it, like I try to tell a story, but then typically I'm joking with the audience most of the time, because we're just human and humans like jokes.
And I can see you have a lot of personality, and I can see why the
Correct. He has so much.
He does.
So much. I would
much,
know.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I was going to say the last piece that I would say makes a good competitor, because you can have all of the abilities to think and critically evaluate and understand subjects, but a confidence in yourself and a comfortability sharing those ideas with someone. Like, you could be the smartest person out there, but if you don't have if you're not comfortable talking to people, you're not going to be a good competitor. Now, one of the things I love the most as a teacher is taking someone who doesn't have that confidence and helping them discover it for themselves.
Right.
But that's part of my other job as a speech teacher, not necessarily as a speech coach, because a competitor is going to have that confidence to be able to succeed.
Right.
And you start getting to the what makes a good team aspect, and you need a bunch of people who excel at all of the different things.
Yeah.
I can't have just a bunch of Zanes on my team and win a national championship, because Zane's skill set is fantastic, but it is this skill set. And so on a team, I want a lot of people with a lot of different skill sets in those categories.
Yeah, and that reminds me of a spiritual lesson that we have, is that as believers, we all need each other. And there are different parts of the body for different functions that the Lord uses.
Yes.
And that's a good, yours is a good example of what God does in and through us. So let's go to Zane and Cara for the moment. A little bit off of maybe forensics, but as I mentioned in the introduction, you both are from Colorado Springs, Colorado, quite a ways away from Cedarville, Ohio.
So far away.
How did you find Cedarville, and what prompted you to want to enroll here at Cedarville? We're glad you decided to do so.
That's it's a long and a short story at the exact same time is the best way to describe it. Short story, I had a sibling that wanted to be an engineer, an older brother, Trent Enos. He's currently a senior right now in computer science. So
here at Cedarville?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going to graduate just at the end of the semester. So that's how I heard of it. But it didn't really put it on the radar of a college like, oh, I want to go to Cedarville. Because in my brain, Cedarville was like, oh, if you're a nurse or an engineer, you go to Cedarville. But what if you want to be like, I don't know, an economist, or you want to be maybe like a pastor or something? So then I had to look for colleges that had a good Austrian economic program, that had conservative values, Christian values, and also was making pastors, which, believe it or not, is extremely difficult to find. Because if you go to a place like Liberty was a good example. I went over there, and it had a fantastic, it had a pastor program, it had a great Christian community, but they did not have an econ program. They had a business program that had an econ specific, but they didn't have an econ degree. And I'm like, I want a school that's going to work on my mind and work on my spirit. And then you'd go to some place like Hillsdale, which had a fantastic economic program, but they only had a theology degree, and that was it.
Right.
They weren't making pastors. And I was just like, can I find a place that has them both? And then randomly, I was told, Cedarville has an econ program. I'm like, how good can it be? And then I come over, and then I get to talk to the dean of business is leading it. Oh, okay, gotcha. And then I think I was hooked from that point. And, chapel 5 days a week.
You like that?
That sold me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How about you, Cara?
So my story of coming to Cedarville is a really fun one, because I was introduced to it by my older brother, Trent, And it has always been on my radar because one of my best friends, her name is Gracie Altisti, came here for a nursing degree. So it's been on my radar as a place of potentially going because I automatically had community. Already had community here. But what really brought me to this school was actually God saying, I want you to love people well. And where can you do that best? And one of the things I'm going into is I'm being trained as a professional psychologist with a focus in helping people who've come from traumatic backgrounds in women's ministry. And I needed a good combination of a psychology program that would not be so infested with everything wrong with the world. The professors here have a heart for God. They love the Lord so well, and I could see that evidently. And it wasn't just in the classroom, because there's a big difference from a professor saying it and then people not living it. The fact that we have chapel every day is incredible. A lot of people I talk to may not like that, but I love it because there's one point every day where the entire campus stops, and it's from 10 to 11. Yeah. And it's a beautiful time. I came here because you have a Bible minor, because you're chapel every day, but because I saw a community that was generally pursuing the Lord, and I said, I can do that.
So you came really similar reasons, just different professions, okay? How has Cedarville lived up to your expectations?
It's far better than I could have hoped for.
Agreed.
Because I'm like, okay, it's chapel every day, but how many people take that seriously? The answer is actually the majority. Like, yeah, we can talk to a lot of people who are like, I don't enjoy going to chapel every single day. And, you know, some people try to take advantage of like skips and stuff too many times. Sure. But then when you actually go to it and you like start looking around, you know, the person says, open up to like Psalm 63 in your Bibles, and you just hear the Bibles all flipping across the chapel.
Whoa. Even now you hear pages flipping, you don't hear the computer apps?
I mean, sometimes you hear people just get out their phone and pull it out, but like even now, you can just hear the Bibles all flipping. And
that's special.
When everyone gets to sit down, you hear all the cushions compressing. It's like,
right.
The more people I talk to, the majority I talk to, they love having a chapel they can go to every day. Yeah. Sometimes it's grinding eventually, so they'll get a couple complaints. Those complaints is by no means the majority.
Correct.
Yeah. That's great.
Incredible, actually.
So let's shift back into the forensic world.
Oh, my favorite world.
It probably is. I know it's your brother's favorite world. I can tell that. So how does being twins present challenges or benefits to you as teammates? And so maybe sometimes you're even competing in the same categories?
Correct.
How does that work out for you guys? I want to hear the coach later on this too.
You know, so funny thing. We've competed in forensics for the majority of our life, not just college. We did this all through high school.
Yeah.
We started even competing a little before we were 12 years old because our mom is a forensics and a speech and debate coach of a club. She retired. But we were a part of STOA, a homeschool organization that does speech and debate for high schoolers. So we have been doing this for long time, guys. Long time.
Well, is this your ninth year? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ninth year.
Like next year on the team will be my 10th year, a decade in speech and debate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
You're old for only being
impressive
19.
for a freshman.
Yeah.
Soon to be
I only have
sophomore.
9 years right now, but when I was sophomore, yeah.
Yeah.
But as for like that's our history with forensics. But as for how we function as twins, I'm gonna be honest. Stop it. We have had challenges, but despite us getting over how to communicate with each other, working our schedules together, putting our relationship above how we perform, it was really evident to me our junior and senior year of college how of high school. Yeah. High school.
Not college.
Not college.
Whoa,
my bad,
We'll
guys.
get there.
I'm gonna get there. It was really evident to me, high school, that we worked well together because we prioritize what we value. And those things being, we're both incredibly dedicated to what we do.
Yeah.
Very excellent. We move forward with grit. When we encounter a problem, we take some time to talk it out, fight it out. I don't know what you got to do. We just got to do what we got to do. And then the second thing we really valued was finding the joy and finding the reason why. Every time in high school, by the way, before we would go on to perform, and even at the biggest tournament we ever competed at, before our final round, the last time we ever performed a speech, we would pray outside the room, and me and Zane would stand out there and we would say, this speech is for you and for the people we give it to. It's not for us. And we would go on to win several of those speeches we would give. Even in college now, there's a bit of a different dynamic. We're not always up and against each other.
The majority of the time, we're not always up and against each other.
Yeah.
Like we had one event, two events, I think.
Impromptu and radio?
With a duo.
And the
duo, okay.
So you competed against each other
Sometimes.
Regularly.
at least a good bit this year. Yeah.
And how did it end?
So like mentally, you don't think of like, oh, I'm competing against my sibling because you have so many people in the event that you're not going to hit them. And even if they're in the same room, you won't like get to see their speech and compare it to your speech all the time. But on occasion, it would end in a way of like, how did you handle that tournament? How did you handle that prompt? Oh, like we try to learn from each other.
Yeah.
They're talking around your question.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Let me answer it directly.
Because I assume Cara outperformed Zane.
You assumed that?
That's my assumption.
So-
Just from the body language.
No.
Okay, so me and him-
Well, sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes.
We switch.
We switch whether we win or
swap
not.
a lot, actually.
So we had 2 different state championships this year. One was
Right.
just for novice, just for first year college competitors, and Cara dominated that tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I got second in impromptu. She got first.
and then our state championship a few weeks later, which was including all of the varsity members too. Zane won impromptu at that tournament.
Yep.
Okay.
So and then Zane also won novice impromptu championship for the National Christian College tournament. So they have bounced back and forth in the events where they were competing against each other. I think Cara always won in duo this year.
Yeah.
But
It was your specialty, and I
It
went to
was
other
so much
things.
fun. We would bounce back between different events. One tournament, Zane would win. The other tournament, I would win. So, and that was also pretty similar in high school as well.
Yeah. So it's balanced. So
Yeah.
it's
it really is balanced.
It's
it really
really
is.
balanced.
If you were to ask me which one of them is the better competitor, I could not answer you. Like
Correct.
not even not playing favorites, but I could not answer you because
You have a favorite?
no.
Dang.
He doesn't. He doesn't. He
I
can't.
got
try, Cara,
excited.
nice try.
He can't have a favorite. But as a coach of coming off of this year with these two on the team, you have to be excited for future years. So
Yeah.
that's one part. What contributed to the success that you had this year, which was really unprecedented here at Cedarville?
Yep.
Yeah, this was this to my knowledge, I'm confident in saying this is the first time we've won the state championship and the national championship in the same year.
Okay.
At least since I've been coaching and probably at least the last 15 years.
How long have you been coaching?
This is my 6th year
Okay.
at Cedarville. What contributed to it? Dedication from every team member.
Yeah.
Every team member.
Massive.
We had 17 people on the team this year. We could not have won if half of them had been dedicated.
Yeah.
Heck, we couldn't have won if 2/3 of them, 3/4 of them had been dedicated, and then the other 4th or 3rd or whatever were just here for the ride.
Yeah.
It was a complete team effort, holding each other accountable, practicing together, coaching each other. I'm the coach, right? So I have the final say in things, but there's a lot of peer-to-peer coaching that happens.
There's a lot.
I would see something in someone's speech when I was coaching it and say, that's new. I did not tell you to do that. Where'd you get that idea? And they would name someone else on the team. And I'm like, I love it. That was a brilliant idea because of how much collaboration they
Right.
did, even with people who they were competing against ultimately. And so that the dedication from the entire team, the level of excellence that everyone held each other to. Some of it was some structural things we put forth on the team to make sure we were being excellent. Some of it was just personal drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know when you received the prestigious quality award. I don't know where in the season you got this, but you did win it.
Yeah.
What did that recognition mean to you as a coach and you as players or teammates?
That was a big surprise of an award for us.
Oh, it was.
Because the quality award is essentially which team averaged the highest number of points per entry at the tournament.
Yep.
Is it the state or the national?
They do one at both tournaments, actually.
Okay.
We won the one at the national level.
Yeah.
Okay.
And typically that award goes to a team with a small number of entries, maybe 2, 3, 4 people, 10, 12 events, because it is
Sure.
easier to have 10 or 12 speeches that are really good, rather than a large team like ours that has at nationals, we had 59 different entries. It is harder to have 59 speeches that are all of really high quality.
Yeah.
And so winning that award as a large team was a big surprise, just because it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, big teams don't win that award. It's so hard to have that much success or that much quality spread out over everyone on your team. And when I look back at each speech, because I did this as an exercise to myself after we won, I'm like, all right, let me go back and look at some of these things. And I looked at every speech on the team, and I'm like, yeah, every single one of those is a quality performance. And so in hindsight, it wasn't a surprise when I look at the individual quality of every speech, but it really meant a lot. And what it meant to me personally was it shows the dedication that each person on the team has, and the level of excellence each person strives to. Like I said, we wouldn't have won the national championship. We would not have won the quality award if we had had a quarter of the people just there to have
How did you get everyone to buy in?
You tell me that. Actually, why did you buy in?
A bribery? No.
He paid us. No.
Not true.
We
It
took
was-
the scholarships.
When we get we get those, but you get those at like the beginning of the year after you audition. Like, your scholarship isn't dependent on your performance. With that note, when it comes to speech and debate, what started to happen was the students started to set expectations for each other.
Yep.
After the very first tournament, I was going in, I joined Cedarville. I'm like, okay, they might be okay. I just want to see how they went, because in high school, me and Cara started with a team that was, we're performing fairly low, and we tried to raise the entire club with us. And I thought, like, it would be cool if I could try to do that again. And then I came into it, and I saw that was already happening. The varsity were already setting expectations, already saying, hey, you have to be putting in at least 9 hours a week. And we're like, oh, okay. So then most people were putting in 11. You had people that were constantly coaching each other. And then we went into the first tournament thinking, okay, let's see how good we are. And then when we actually saw that the varsities that were help teaching us were some of the best at the tournament, it was like, oh,
They're excellent.
we can do that. And it became this self-competing greenhouse where each person was trying to help coach one another. Because each person, as soon as we saw that the varsities were doing well, we wanted it too. And it became like this, not a competition for ourselves, but realize whenever someone wins, it's not this person wins. It's this person wins from Cedarville University. We carried the university with us. So a win for one person isn't a win for just that person.
Yeah.
It's a win for the entire squad.
Yeah.
So there's this part of, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the team.
Yeah.
And it became a family to the point where we knew we were competing to become the best we could for God.
Yeah.
And guess what? God doesn't have a standard of how far he wants you to make it. He doesn't have a minimum expectation, because if you're performing for an audience of one, you will never stop trying to become your best.
Great.
One of the things that you touched on there that I try to emphasize a lot is our excellence. The standard of excellence is not a standard of excellence so that we can win awards and that, where it stops. Now, I think winning awards, so our individual excellence, our team excellence, our winning awards all contribute to our reputation as a team, as a school. When we go to a tournament, people know it's Cedarville University.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously.
And they know Cedarville as a Christian school. Most people know that.
Right.
And so when we do something excellently, we carry with us the name of Cedarville and the name of God when we go to tournaments. And so that winning, we give everything to God. All of our awards are not because of us, right? We give those awards, back to God. Like if we were still in the altar days, I could take my trophies and put them all on the altar, right? But that's our heart posture, at least, is that. And so our reputation is valuable to us as a team that competes well, but not for the sake of winning, not for our own pride.
So the season went well. You said historic that you won state and national championships the same season. That's great. But I'm sure there were probably some hurdles you had to overcome, obstacles you had to overcome. What were some of those obstacles you had to overcome? And what were some of your greatest triumphs?
I would say one of the biggest challenges for me and many of the novice on the team was understanding just how broken the field we compete in is. So one of the events I had the opportunity to compete in is called After Dinner Speaking. It is a PA, public address format of a speech where you take a topic and you use humor to bring light to that topic, to kind of persuade and have fun with an audience. And I did not realize just how difficult and hard it would be to sit through these speeches of people who believe so many different things than I do, them using a lot of innuendo in their speeches, hard terms, cussing every other second, like a very, very sexual and charged area. And sitting through, very, very perverse. And sitting through this, that was hard. Because at one hand, they are blaming Christianity for the pain they've gone through. And then the next, you can see the amount of hurt they're in, and what they say is not helping.
No.
And what they say is going to help and going to heal society and love society, all this activism that they say is going to help, it doesn't. Because they're left in the same place of wondering who they are.
Yeah.
It's my biggest challenge going into this year was coming face to face with people who say they have identity, but have no idea where it is.
That's our society in a nutshell.
It is.
And outside of Christ, they don't know who they are, where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that as a competitor myself, that winning is really important. That's why you compete. You compete to do your best and hopefully win the prize.
Yeah.
But there's more than just winning a trophy, winning an award. And you guys got to experience that at some point this year in sharing your faith with other competitors, other people from other schools. One story comes to mind where you were able to share the gospel. Who wants to share that story with us? Because to me, that's the pinnacle of your success this year.
So one of our teammates, I love him.
Who is it?
Joshua.
Woo!
He is incredible. And Joshua has this heart for God. He will bring up the gospel any second he can. And we were at this tournament called the Norton. This was in early fall. And we had met so many different competitors, but there was one competitor that really liked hanging out with us. He went to
Ohio University.
He went to Ohio. He went to OU.
Okay.
So he went to Ohio University, and Joshua immediately kind of just started being incredibly friendly. We invited him over because he said he loved hanging out with us and he enjoyed being around us. And throughout the whole day, really the whole few days we were there competing, he was around us quite a bit. He wasn't Christian, but he was very much open to talking to us about so many different things. And Joshua, either before the award ceremony or after the award ceremony, said that he had sat down with Bill and had a really long conversation about purpose, meaning, what he believes. And at the end of the conversation, Joshua asked him, and he shared the gospel with him. And Joshua asked him if he would like to accept Jesus. And Bill was very excited. He's like, absolutely, I do. And we had put him, we got his number, we put him in contact, and pretty sure Joshua still keeps up with him.
Zane, you talk to him a little bit now and then too, don't you?
Okay, so the story for me was very interesting because I first met Bill outside of an impromptu round one at the very beginning of the tournament. I just met him, I just talked to him, and I'm like, oh, this is a pretty cool guy. And he's like, yeah, you're kind of fun to hang out with. Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Cedarville University. Hey, let me introduce you to some of my friends. So then I connected him to the group, and then that's how we met Joshua.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from that point, it was evident that he just liked being around us. From my perspective, he's like, he likes us. Sweet. So then I just would talk with him when I'd have the chance to say, hi, Bill, how's your rounds doing? And then after a while, it was told to me after the tournament that Joshua had a conversation with him. And I'm like, oh, what was that conversation about? He's like, well, turns out Bill grew up in a Catholic church with his family.
Yeah.
But he never owned his own personal Bible, and he never really had his own personal relationship with God. And Joshua was the one who was like, hey, I have a personal relationship with God. Would you like one too?
Wow.
And that's what opened up that door. And I was shocked because I'm like, when did Joshua do this? Because I was running through all the interactions I had. I'm like, where in the timeline did he find time for this?
We had a long wait before the awards ceremony, before we could go into where the awards were going to be. And so everybody was just hanging out, milling around, talking to each other. And I think that's when they were able to connect and have that conversation.
Yeah. So for me, I was just kind of able to witness it.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
So how did you guys, when you heard this news, I don't know when you heard the news as a team about Bill, what was your reaction? How did that compare to your great success in the Norton?
That's an interesting question because it was not a public recognition of any kind, right? Nobody stood up and clapped for us. The adrenaline was a little different. It was a lot different. Like I'm always a little skeptical when people's stories that I didn't witness.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it wasn't until, it's not that I didn't take it seriously, but it wasn't until a few weeks later when Joshua was telling me follow-up stories about Bill looking for a church and joining a small group and things like, oh wow, this was real.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't just somebody giving lip service to somebody trying to share the gospel. This was real. And to my knowledge now, he's still involved in the local church where he's at now. And that is super exciting. I would give up the championship for that.
Single one.
For that genuine relationship that was formed there.
Right.
Yeah. Kind of the comparison is when you win an award, you have a smile on your face. When Joshua announced in the car that when he told the gospel to Bill, I cried.
Like you are right now.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's something that like anyone on the team would trade every award they had just to have one more of those conversations.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So we are out of time. So looking ahead to next year as a coach, how do you improve on this year's success in competition and in their faith journey?
The game plan.
I'm still asking myself that, to be honest with you. I mean, we're only about 3 weeks out from winning the Nationals.
Really?
It hasn't been that long ago. Right. And so I'm still trying to figure out what goals for next year look like. We won the speech side of the tournament. We won the overall side. We got second in debate. So I know
you can improve there.
We can improve there. I want to win the debate championship next year. But it's also unrealistic to always say we're going to keep winning.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So I don't want to necessarily say, okay, next year's goal, do it again. I want next year's goal to always be better than we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's the game plan is let's evaluate our strengths and our weaknesses and our things that we can improve on, and let's be a better team. Let's just improve individually. If more victories come along with that, great. But my priority is always a community on the team. Another thing I would trade the team for or trade awards for is a cohesive team, which we definitely had this year.
Yeah.
But if there's ever a year where the team is just disjointed and contentious all the time, I'd be like, I don't want to win with a team that doesn't have unity behind our common goals and the cordiality. We are a family, and that phrase is thrown around a lot of times for small knit groups of people, but we really feel like that.
Yeah.
So how many teammates return for next year?
I think the number of people who have told me they're coming back next year is 14.
That's good. That's a good nucleus.
Maybe 13. I think 13.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. We only have 3 graduating, and only one has said they're not coming back.
Well, as I look at 2 of your teammates that I would think you have for 3 more years, I think the future's bright. And I think there will be unity as these 2 take more and more leadership role with the team. Is that fair?
Well,
Cara's one who said she's not coming back to the team next year.
Yes, I will not be coming back.
And one of the things that I stress among people, especially people who've been doing it for so long, is there's a lot of other things you can learn out there. Yeah. There are a lot of other activities that can stretch you and grow you and as a person. And if you've got 9 years of competitive speech and debate, you've learned all of the life skills that you're going to get out of this. You might be able to learn and grow more competitively, but you've learned the life skills that it can give you.
That's fair.
And if there's somewhere else you want to grow, go do it.
Yeah,
absolutely. If Zane said he's coming back to play with us next year, so he's going to learn more. He's going to grow more.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But I always tell people, you do what God is leading you to do as far as where he wants you to be on this campus, especially because at Cedarville,
that's great.
There's so many things you can pour into.
Absolutely.
So,
and also like being one of the people who are not coming back and witnessing like how proud I am of the team. Like one of the main reasons is not because I don't love the people there or value the community, is that I also value cultivating rhyme and rest and learning how to balance life that way with college commitments and such a commitment that is forensics. I need to learn how to rest. And I would encourage everybody to need to do what they have to do to cultivate Sabbath and rest.
Wow. Tell you what, these two are wiser than their years.
Oh, thanks.
And it's a pleasure to be with you today. And thanks for sharing your story with us on the Cedarville Stories Podcast. And good job this past year, and best wishes for the future.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Cedarville Stories Podcast, brought to you by Cedarville University. Be sure to come back next week when we'll share another Cedarville story for God's glory.